Hey guys, what's going on? Blaine back for another Netflix review, and today I'm going to be talking about Penguin Bloom. So the plot of Penguin Bloom is actually based on a real, true-life story. It's based on a book written by Cameron Bloom, and it basically documents his wife Sam's experience living as a paraplegic as a result of an accident that she suffered while on vacation with her family in Thailand. The film itself shows the scene happening right at the beginning, and then it flash forwards about a year or so into the future as it shows the Bloom family readjusting to life following the tragedy that took place. The Bloom family consists of the husband and wife, Cam and Sam respectively, and their 3 children, Ollie, Ruben, and Noah. And you can see right at the beginning that although they are a happy family and they're still all together, you can tell that things are not the same way that they used to be, and that everyone is just suffering as a result of that accident, Sam especially. Noah in particular seems really affected by that tragedy, and you get a sense of what's going on in his mind as the story progresses. We really see what kind of thoughts that he's going into in his head, and he's always documenting things all the time and taking pictures and making video diaries and basically just ruminating over something that he feels that he was directly responsible for. And speaking of Noah, he's actually directly responsible for the whole reason why this movie is titled Penguin Bloom. He's playing on the beach with his brothers, Ollie and Ruben, and he ends up noticing this magpie chick that's laying on the ground, presumably having fallen from the nest that it used to be in the tree. The magpie chick's about to be attacked by a lizard, but Noah ends up coming to the magpie's rescue, and they actually end up adopting that magpie into their family, at least temporarily so, until it's healthy enough to go back into the wild. And so the whole premise of this story is basically centering around the family being able to move past the tragedy and transforming and basically becoming a closer unit together while this magpie ends up growing older and more intelligent and becoming more emotionally resonant with the family's needs. It was just great to see that whole dynamic being put in place, how the magpie ended up bringing out the best in everyone in that family. I definitely think the magpie was the best part of this movie. Too often in movies, we see animals not being portrayed right, whether it's due to their behaviors or if it's due to the lack of the animals themselves as a result of computer-generated imagery. I personally feel that CGI has no place whenever it comes to these types of movies. If you're going to include an animal at the forefront, you should at least do your best to put a real animal in front of the camera at all times. I remember watching the movie Call of the Wild recently with Harrison Ford, and I just couldn't help but wish how much they should have put a real wolf on screen as opposed to all the computer generation stuff that we had on screen. But as far as the magpie was concerned in this movie, I thought the special effects were really well done. I don't know, I just like when a movie is able to strike a good balance between realism and CGI. There were times when watching this that I had no idea I was looking at a fake magpie, and obviously there are real magpies in the movie as well, and you're only able to tell if you really squint and look at it just a little bit and you're able to see what's on screen. You're like, oh, now I get it. And everyone's reactions to the magpie on screen, it ranges from comedy to drama. It obviously depends on the moment that's happening on screen, but I thought that everyone's reactions and relationship to the magpie in the movie was also really good. It was by far the highlight of the movie for me. As a huge animal fan myself, I just love being able to see animals on screen as long as they're done right. Too often they're used as a crutch to sort of drive an emotional reaction out of the audience, but I felt in this case it was really well done. I also thought the acting in this movie was fantastic. Naomi Watts' performance as Sam is the best example in this regard. She does a great job portraying a character that is absolutely heartbroken and despondent over the tragedy that's taken place in her life, and she has no idea how to adjust to life afterwards. We see her living almost with like a sense of guilt that she feels directly responsible for the events that happen in Thailand, especially on a momentous occasion as a family vacation, when really it was just an accident. But nevertheless, we see her struggling to adapt to life after the accident. She's always having to mount herself on poles in order to get herself out of bed. She's always going around in a wheelchair. She can't reach things that she used to. And there's even a few dramatic moments that happen in the story as well where I felt absolutely heartbroken for Sam. There's one example where she's in bed with her husband Cam, and in the middle of the night, their children end up waking up sick. They're throwing up all over the toilet, so Cam ends up going to the bathroom to look after them because the boys called out for him, but they used to call out for their mother, Sam, because she was always the person who looked after them whenever the boys were sick. So the fact that she used to be the one to do that, now all of a sudden she's being left at the wayside, like she feels almost like she's left out, like the boys don't want her anymore, even though that's definitely not the case. They definitely do want her to be a part of their life. It's just that she's not mobile enough to help them fast enough compared to Cam. Cam, by the way, is portrayed by Andrew Lincoln, who you will recognize the most as playing Rick Grimes in The Walking Dead. His performance as Cam in this film was also fantastic. You really get the sense that he's sort of caught in the middle as he's trying to juggle his own emotions that he's experiencing as a result of his wife being a paraplegic, while also trying to comfort Sam as she's trying to cope with her own guilt. I felt guilt was a very potent theme in this film. Everyone just felt miserable and guilty about something that was happening, and it always connected back to the accident. Some might think that's a little bit melodramatic in this regard, but you gotta understand, this is a drama. You're supposed to have conflict like this. And honestly, I don't really know how I'd react if I became a paraplegic or if I became a partner of someone who was paraplegic. I would have no idea how to adjust to that life. There's no written instruction manual that tells you how to be someone who supports a loved one or be someone who ends up going through this sort of thing. And I think you really just got to learn to roll with the punches as it goes along and try to figure things out along the way. The problem with that is that there's a lot of negative emotions that one might feel in this regard, and you may not know how to deal with those as well. So there's a lot of different dramatic things that are happening in the background of this story, and of course it all goes back to the magpie chick, as the magpie is sort of helping them rediscover their humanity and trying to get things back to some sense of normalcy. That being said, while I do think the drama in this film was good for the most part, I felt that there were moments during the story where the movie was just creating drama for the sake of drama. I can understand where they were going with Noah in this story, but I personally felt his character was really annoying. I don't know what it is with movies and child characters, but it just feels like they're put in a movie just to get some sort of cheap, dramatic reaction out of the audience. There's a moment toward the end of the story where Noah and Sam end up having some sort of confrontation, and I just felt it was really contrived and just happened out of nowhere. Even though we get a sense of what's going on in Noah's head at certain parts in the movie, I didn't feel that they really developed that aspect enough in the story. Sure, he goes around collecting pictures and taking videos and doing all sorts of things to hold on to memories, but we don't really see him doing anything out of the ordinary outside of just being a regular kid and doing all those other things that I mentioned. And those other things don't really happen enough to warrant having this big dramatic episode that happens toward the ending while him and Sam end up arguing and then it ends up getting resolved. I just felt that everything happened out of nowhere for no reason, and then it ended up resolving itself so quickly for no reason at all. It just felt like drama for the sake of drama. Another example of this is the grandmother, Jan, who's played by Jackie Weaver. And I'm just going to go on record to say I love Jackie Weaver. She is a very, very talented actress. But her role in this movie made no sense. Like, she had nothing to do in this movie other than just cause drama, again, for the sake of drama. She just starts arguments out of nowhere. Like, she's always asking about what is Cam going to do if this situation comes up? What if a fire happens at home? How is she going to get around? She's just always raising hypothetical scenarios and questions, and it's just like, lady, chill. Again, there's no instruction manual to plan for this sort of thing. Sure, there's lived experiences and you can learn from those, but you're never going to be 100% prepared for any situation as an able-bodied adult, let alone someone who's a paraplegic. So why waste your time overthinking all these scenarios in your head if you're never going to be fully prepared for anything anyway? I get that some people can feel really overprotective of others, especially in the case of a tragic accident, but there's no sense in worrying about these things unless, of course, you're making a dramatic Hollywood movie and you want to create conflict for the sake of conflict. Overall, Penguin Bloom is an average drama. Not really terrible, but not really fantastic either. The Magpie is definitely the whole reason to watch this movie. If you felt like there haven't been enough animal movies lately or dramas that center around animals, then this movie will definitely scratch that itch. I like the interactions that the magpie has with the family, as well as how the characters change over the course of the story. There's definitely a sense of character development that goes on as the story progresses. But at the same time, it feels like the movie ends up ending like halfway through, and then the rest of it is just filler, and then it ends up creating more drama as it goes along, and it just ends up feeling really contrived and fake and out of place. Anyways guys, that's going to be my review of Penguin Bloom. Thanks for watching this video, I hope you enjoyed it, and as always, stay tuned for the next part, where next time I review the British drama, The Dig. Bye bye!